All right, so what I'm going to show you is how to do this. If that's something you think you want to learn how to do, stick around. So what I'm going to show you how to do is how to use an expression ramper from old Blood Noise Endeavors, and pretty much any of the modelers. You know, this will work in concept on the Helix or any of the other ones, as long as they can accept um, an expression pedal. You should be able to do this. So basically, what I've got going on here, ignore kind of this second path down here. That is for the Boss SY200 running parallel. It's being controlled separately. It's just there to add some sonic layers. Anyways, ignore that. Everything else is relatively straightforward. I've got drives up front. I've got two captures of amps, and then it goes to all my wet effects. Okay. The Keeley halos in the loop, so that's what the effects loop is. This is a tremolo. This is a tremolo. This is room reverb. This is a compressor to make the sound guys happy. Um, my normal tremolo is this one, so it's just it's completely separate from what we're talking about today. So don't get confused by that. Basically, the way I have this set up is I can hit the expression ramper anytime, and it will essentially turn on a tremolo and do the cool ramping thing like you find a la James Duke, the Gravitas thing, the where it ramps up the delay, depth, and rate. Okay, so it's really simple how to do this. It's intimidating at first, but it's really not that bad. Basically, all you want to do is make sure you think of how your minimum and your maximum settings. That you do that, you figure out where you want, how slow you want the tremolo to go, to how fast you want it to go, and how deep you want it to go, how affected the signal is. You figure that out. This is super easy. Okay, so you go to your tremolo, set up your tremolo. I'd like it at the end because it has more of an effect after everything else. And you go to your little 3-dot thing, and again, just wherever you go to assign an expression pedal. I have put an expression port 2, connect. Okay, so I have 3 things assigned. I have the rate assigned, the depth assigned, and the boost assigned. So again, for each of these, you want to think of in terms of what's the minimum, what's the maximum. For the rate, I have the minimum set to 16%, and the maximum to 66%. So you can see it ramp up. It goes all the way up to 9.1 hertz and all the way down to 1 hertz. I like it not being completely zero because it gets to it has more of an effect quicker, okay? So do what you want, experiment with this. That's not the point of this video. It's the point of the video how to do it. Your depth, I have it set minimum is 0, maximum is 100. This is a recommended setting for this because if you have it set the depth all the way to 0, it essentially turns off the tremolo when you have it in the first position. So you leave the tremolo on all the time, you step on the expression ramper, it's going to come in no matter what. So you don't have to turn on a tremolo and then do the expression ramping. So again, experiment, do with whatever you want. Again, you can see it goes from 0 all the way up to 100% or 92% and then all the way down. Okay? And then the boost, this is simply because tremolo has a perceived loss of sound. And with it boosting, it also makes the effect more pronounced. So, yeah, I have it set from 17 to 40%. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. Again, all the other settings are, I don't think there's anything crazy I'm doing. I don't have the width on because I found that does weird things within the Quad Cortex as far as tremolo is concerned. Smoothing, that I want this to be a very percussive tremolo, so I turned off the smoothing. I believe I turned off, the fade out is pretty much off. Waveform is sine. You can make it square and have even more effect. I don't think I need to. The other thing to pay attention to is make sure the sync is off. I don't remember what it is in the Helix exactly, but there's a setting to make sure you're not using your tap tempo, because if you turn that on, it won't have the effect. Like this won't be controlling the rate. So make sure that's off so that the old blood noise endeavor expression ramper has control. Okay, so let's go over to the expression ramper itself. There's lots of reviews on this, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. But basically the way it works is the minimum value, you set the switch to A, that's the minimum value. B is the maximum value. Rate is how fast it's going to go from A to B. So if you set your minimums to all what you want the minimum to be, you simply set this to 0. And you can see on here, you can see in real time how it's adjusting. So if I set it all the way to 0, depth is 0, rate is 1, okay? Boost is whatever it is. B, the maximum, again, I set this to max. There you go. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so I set it to max. My rate goes up to 9.1, depth 92. Set your rate to whatever you want it to be, okay? And then the rate, that's just how fast it gets there. So I like it kind of slower because it has more of a pronounced effect. Like you can hear the transition. To me, that's where this is beautiful, is that transition. But again, if you set it fast, you're not going to hear much of a change. It's pretty much going to be instantaneous. So if you want another way to turn the tremolo on and off, I guess you could do this. Kind of an expensive way to do it, but there you go. But yeah, and if you go too slow, it just feels like it could take forever. Which, I mean, again, maybe that's what you want. I like it about there. 11 o'clock or so. So that's how you do that. As far as the other thing to remember is keep this in the A-B mode. The expression ramper, it's an oscillator too, so basically you can have it do a triangle wave or a square wave between the two settings of A and B. That's really cool, but it doesn't really work very well for this because it's a tremolo, so you'll just hear either nothing or just a little bit of something. So in a square wave, it just does weird stuff. So you can see it going back and forth. So it's a tremolo and a tremolo, and then... So, I mean, there's uses for that, I'm sure. But for the expression ramping, you want it in A to B mode. So yeah, another cool thing I found, so you have that turn on and off. If you have a normal tremolo, So let's say I turn on my normal one. I'm using it. And then I kick on the expression ramper. It does kind of a cool thing depending on the rates. So yeah, it's got a lot of uses. But yeah, so that's how you do it. If you have any questions, reach out. Otherwise, see you in the next video.